I can't see you, but I am recording, just so you know.
Okay. Can't start video, failed to start video camera, select another camera in settings, audio, video, integrated webcam, always turn off video, no, always show name, enable mirror, oh, crap. I don't know what's going on. Start Zoom, enter.
Are you on your phone or are you on your computer?
Now I'm on my computer. Fit to window.
If you go the bottom of the screen, there is a camera icon.
It's saying it's failed to start the camera. Please select another video camera in settings.
Okay, go to settings.
Okay.
Click on video.
Yeah. Yep. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should call you back if I knew how. Okay.
It's okay if we don't do video. We don't have to do video.
Right. I have so many things open right now.
That's okay. So
manager. Let's do that.
Here's what I would like you to do.
Okay.
Close everything.
Okay.
Okay. And just so you know, I do need to keep my schedule. So I hope we don't need to reschedule this.
Okay. What's that?
So I don't want to have to reschedule this.
I know. Okay. Let's save that. Okay. I don't know.
Why don't you try after you close everything? Close here. Do you have the app for Zoom? Did you downloaded that?
On my computer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Write down the meeting number so it's easy for you to rejoin.
Okay.
609.
609.
119.
119.
200.
200. All right.
All right. Leave the Zoom and then connect back in, but close everything.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Talking. Wait. Leave. Leave meeting.
So this just came today. This is the Attitude Magazine, and see this on the cover, the 47 apps, must-have apps. Yeah, I'm the author for that one. I actually just co-authored with someone else that was combined with what I wrote. So that's pretty cool. I haven't read it yet, though. Hello.
Hi.
All right.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm here.
You're
I'm
here.
really nervous.
You're nervous? Really? You don't need to be nervous.
Okay, I'm on the landline thing.
What's that?
I'm on the land internet connected thing, I think.
Okay. So I am, let's see. All right.
Okay.
You by any chance get Attitude Magazine?
No.
This?
Oh, no. I see it online.
So I just got a stack of these in the mail. The article, the cover article, the 47 must-have apps
Ah.
on the author. I'm doing a
No
happy dance.
way!
So, it was interesting because when I sent them the article, it was 25 apps. I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." So, there's another author that they combined mine and hers, but I haven't even read it yet. I opened it like 2 seconds ago.
Oh,
So,
that's really neat.
now I know.
Congrats.
Oh, thanks. So I know that I had notes for you about what we would talk about. I have no idea where those are. So what we're gonna do is so we do need to kind of monitor the time because I have a client at 12 or 1:15.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to set a timer, and here I'm gonna let's see if this what would be the best way to do that. Nah, I'm not gonna mess with that right now. Okay, so the format of the show, you're familiar with it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any questions before we get going on it?
I don't think so.
Okay. You didn't do your homework, man. Precious.
I know.
Killing me. Maybe by necessity, we're going to make this a shorter episode. All right. What's your last name again?
Mackey. Mackey.
Mikey pronounced it?
Mac.
Right. So Mackey.
Uh-huh.
Mackey. Precious Mackey.
Mm-hmm.
And you're... Give me like the highlights.
I'm a mother, gone back to school. Was a good and back at school the second time around.
How old are you?
I'm 27. Well, 25 for a few years now.
Okay. And where do you live? What state?
I'm in Virginia right now, but originally a Floridian.
Okay. And was there anything you did not want me to ask you about?
Nope.
No? Okay. Any questions before we start?
None that I can remember. No.
Not what was the homework?
Bio and picture.
Okay. It's okay. I sent you the link to this at I think 12:29. So, we're here together. All right. So I'm going to do a countdown, and then we'll start. And if there is anything that like you want to re-say, just say, I want to retake that, and I'll just add a marker to my audio.
Okay.
If there is any clipping of audio, meaning like it cuts out for a second, so if all of a sudden I'm talking and you don't hear, I'm going to go, hold on, I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to make an audio marker on here, and then we're going to have to restate. It always throws people for a loop because you're like, wait, what was I just saying? So we'll do what we got to do, but I want to make sure that we get a good quality audio feed. So do me a favor, just tell me I'm just going to check audio quickly. Tell me your name, and then, say the alphabet.
My name is Precious Mackey. ABCDEFGHIJKL.
What's that background noise?
My computer. I think it's breathing.
Do you have headphones?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, plug those in.
There. Yeah.
What's? Do you have anything in your ears right now?
Yep.
Oh my! They're totally like. Wait.
It fell into my earring now. But yeah, see?
I can't like those are earbuds.
Yeah.
They all like blend in. I can't even see. Okay. Where is the microphone part of where you're speaking?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. All right, do me a favor.
Okay.
Turn off your video feed for a minute and then do the alphabet again, because it's like when you start talking, it sounds very
Okay.
computer-y.
Turn off the video feed. There. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y Z.
All right, turn it back on now. And do it again.
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z.
Okay. All right. It'll probably be okay. All right. Ready?
Okay.
You nervous?
Yes. I don't know. I don't know why. I think because I don't know what to expect.
Me neither. Ready?
And now you don't know. Okay. All right.
Just forget this is going to be recorded and listened to by a couple thousand people. All right?
Right. Got it.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD reWired. I am here with my guest in the virtual studio with Precious Mackey, who is in her late 20s. After she told me she was 25 a few times, I figured we'll let it go at that. She's a mom, a returning student. She's back at college. I wrote something else down that I can't read. She's originally from Florida. I figured it out. It's that you live in Virginia. And like, that's not what I think it says. And I'm thrilled to have her on. She's been a very active member of the ADHD reWired Facebook community. And you joined us for our Zoom party that we had last week, which was a riot. It was a lot of fun. So, Precious, thank you for coming on. I know you didn't do your homework, so we're going to kind of wing it here. Welcome, and welcome for coming on. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. It's Friday. Well,
it is Friday.
Yeah. So.
You had that look on your face. Now I do see the video feed. She had that look on her face of after she said it was Friday, and she's like, "Wait, is it Friday? Did I read that correctly?"
Yes. So yeah, I mean, we made it through the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally okay because yesterday I recorded a solo episode for the podcast that'll be released. Well, when you hear this, it was last week's episode, and I'm very aware that in the intro to the episode, I said that next week's going to be episode 50. And then I realized an hour later, I'm like, no, it's not. So I think this one might be, or maybe the next one. We're getting really close to 50.
Yes.
So who's counting anyways? You know? So tell us a little bit about you. So you said you're a mom. How many kids?
I have one.
You have one kid. How old?
Yes, he's 9.
9-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. And do you want to tell us about him?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's my little guy. He's saved me and helped get me focused on, give me purpose in a way. I don't have much of a family.
Okay.
And he just was such a blessing. He became my world, and I'm just really thankful for that. And so that was. I was starting school when he was newborn, college, second year, and it, because of the lack of family and whatnot, it wasn't the wisest decision to go back full time with a newborn, and so I ended up withdrawing, and then.
And what were you studying?
I was getting my prereqs to go into dental hygiene.
Retake. Can you say that again? The prereq.
the prereqs to go into dental hygiene,
Hmm.
and that was a job. It was a solid income, and it was smart on paper. And
So you went into it for the income.
well, yeah, potentially. And I mean, I enjoy people. It was just made sense. I kind of
Okay.
like the science side of things. And so then I withdrew from school. Was not sure if it was planned to go back. Um, his I was married, and it wasn't the healthiest relationships. That
And your son, you had him when you were young. So
yes,
how old were you when you got married?
I was 19.
So you were a baby.
Yeah, it was. Yes. I mean, you can see the final picture afterwards, the journey where it makes sense. But I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone. and and so that ended. Essentially, I went from the pot to the frying pan into another interesting relationship.
Okay. So
But then,
so you were in school for dental hygiene. How old?
19.
Okay. So
I,
right after you had
yeah.
your son.
Had
Okay.
him, and I was in school, and um,
Man, that
so
must have been
then,
hard.
yes, it wasn't easy, but the I didn't always have that drive. I never had a drive like everyone else. I would get jealous where people could just do it because they wanted to, and and that was a touch of it growing up. I was a really good student, but I would always do the minimum amount of work
Hmm.
to do the best I could. Yeah, so I could get A's easy or high B's without studying, and so I wouldn't study.
And is
If
that
I
how it was
studied,
for you? Is that how it was for you, like all the way through schooling?
oh yes,
Okay. So,
and
and a lot of clients that I work with, Precious, that, um, you know, those are the clients that have the hardest time when they get into the upper grades and into college because they never had to really study, and now all of a sudden they do, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to do."
exactly, yes, exactly, and I did get a touch of that when I was starting in those first couple of years, but I was still able to get. I got my first, well, second B, and it was hard. I had a lot of pressure in high school and growing up, where I grew up with my aunt and uncle, and if I got an A-, I would have a sit down, and they'd say, "You need to look at this because it's going to turn into a B, and that's unacceptable." So I
Do you
always
think
had
that
this.
was there a lot of issues with perfection then? Do you think as a result of that?
Yes, it was. I was never enough,
Mm.
even, and so I realized later as I had grown up that all those voices, I still put that pressure on myself. And so I would just be beside myself with a B, even though I knew how to get an A. You just
Hmm.
look at it and read. But it was, I think one was economics.
You
Yeah.
mentioned those voices, and I the negative thoughts that kind of go in that kind of um, sometimes scream at us inside of our minds, and it's the one thing that I would say to that because you know I those voices were stirred up for me in the last couple of weeks recently with just I was pushing myself really hard with the launch of my last coaching group that just started, and I was there's definitely that I have to really monitor and be very cognizant of that those perfectionistic qualities.
Yeah.
For me, part of it is because I went through most of my life not being successful, and then once you kind of taste that success, it feels really good. It's like a drug; you
Right.
want more of it. And but I didn't really listen to those limitations, and I was really surprised. I was really trying to be mindful of noticing those kind of negative thoughts, those voices that were saying, it's like, what are they going to think if you don't do it, this way or that way? What are they going to think if you kept saying you were going to, their group was going to fill up, and what if it doesn't?
Mhm.
No one's going to like you anymore, and it's like those are
Yes.
thoughts. And it's like, and it's hard. It's like I teach the stuff, and when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, it's
Mm.
amazing how much those kinds of thoughts can feel like they're facts, and they're not. And you
Exactly.
have to really talk back to those thoughts. And
Right.
so had to be really intentional this past week or so on doing that. So it's like I can definitely relate with those negative thoughts. And I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people listening right now can say, "Oh yeah, if those voices just shut up already."
Right. And you need to be able to take that step back and know that it isn't true. You're not going to lose friends, and it doesn't, because I did poorly on a test or anything, doesn't transcribe into my worth. I mean, because
Right,
I think so
right.
much less of myself, and I've gotten better with it now lately as I've come back to school. My friend told me, because I would have had a B, and I was on a test, and hey, B's are good. And and he says, um, remember, what do they call the doctor who graduated last of his class?
Yep.
I was like, what? He said, they still call him
Doctor.
doctor.
Yeah.
and,
Yep.
and so it's, that perspective of being able to just, I did what I could. I had all these other things going on, so I couldn't put the 9 hours in.
We have to do these kind of this cost benefit analysis of, okay, so if it is like, if you're going to almost into a state of crisis because you were so stressed to get those A's, it's
Right.
not worth it. It's
Yeah.
like you can get, if you're a high school student, you can get into college without getting all A's. I mean, I got into college. My grades were not good.
Right.
I was very involved with other things, and I did have an upward trend towards the end, which helped.
Okay.
But I tell a lot of parents that I talk to who are, so worried that if their kids aren't getting all A's and B's, that they're not going to go anywhere with their life. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding? Like,
I know.
it's like, and so those fears are so real. And it's like, even in college, those good grades, that means it's nice to get good grades. And what that really ultimately helps you for is your first job. After that,
Right.
it doesn't really matter.
Right. And that's so true. And then as it goes on, they don't even ask you about GPA. They go, oh, okay, you went there. Great.
But if you have ADHD and I ask you about how your grades were, like, I don't remember. It was
Right.
It was this year.
Exactly. So I had that pressure this first few years, and then had the little boy, and I started working as a waitress, and it was good. I worked at a corporate restaurant, so they had all these, how it should be. I'm not type A necessarily, but in certain zones, it needs to be 2 inches from that corner. It just,
Yeah.
and I thrived in it, and it was fast paced, and everything was busy every single, or is different every day. And that was something that I was always important to me, because I get bored easily. And
did you ever walk away from taking an order and then like forget that you didn't write something down and then like
no, I got into really good habits initially off the bat. I wrote everything down. You couldn't read it. And at one restaurant, I would get in trouble because just in case they needed to read the tickets, the kitchen wouldn't be able to read mine. But I mean, I had my system, and after the years went by, I became really efficient. Initially, when I first started going out of the gate, I was so scared, and I'm really shy by nature. I always have been. I grew up with my father till I was 8.
Really?
And he told me, he said, I mean, he would tell people, yeah, she's shy. So I don't know if I was shy because I was described as that, that whole labeling cycle. And but once I got to know you, then it was just everything was off. But being a waitress, it would get so nervous. And then some restaurants, you have to say this whole spiel before you can even talk to them. But as a waitress, I wasn't necessarily Precious anymore. I was your waitress. So I would take this, I always enjoyed theater and acting and everything. So when I would put on my uniform in this, I would take on this character where I could definitely do that because I know what's expected of me. I know how to do it. And I had that confidence. And that helped me tremendously with that unhealthy relationship with the husband because I had such poor confidence all my life. And
Talk to me a little bit about this idea of playing this character, because I think there's a lot of value we can actually gain from that in many areas of our life. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yes, I think it was just a mindset, almost a protective and safe mindset. Because if it was me, I mean, at that time I didn't even like me. So, well, what are they going to respond to it as? But when I was your waitress for the night, I could, I know what the specials are. I can tell you that, and I can bring your drinks to you and do these 50 other things at the same time because I'm aware and thinking of it all at the same time. And I was good at it, and that helped with that confidence too, where I knew I did well, and I just
what came first for you? Was it doing well with it initially, and then just believing in yourself that you could continue to do well, or was it that you just kind of told yourself, this is what I'm going to do?
I think,
if you remember,
it was because it came easy for me. The fast responses and the switching of gears of, going back and forth. And it was, and then on top of that, I'm seeing people, which I don't really like them, but I liked interacting with them. and I mean, but no, I
always love that idea that, it's like, this job would be great if it weren't for the customers.
Yes.
When you're in like retail or customer service.
Exactly. It's sad, but it's so true. But I mean, I think it was that I saw that I was good at it, and then that helped that confidence, and then that role came in after, I think.
Okay. So, Precious, you've been through a lot. I think that you are a person who probably would say that you maybe have a lot of grit, have persevered through a lot of challenging experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey.
And I think for a lot of us, it has been a journey. Now, I know one of the things that we have in common is music.
Yes.
So I do want to talk to you about that. I am trying to monitor the time, and I'm really trying to not go and have this episode be an hour long. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to take a really quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to talk to you about your you as a musician and kind of what you're doing right now and some of that story. So we'll be right back. All right, Precious, we are back. It's really funny because I think I forgot to tell you that when I tell you during the interview that we're going to be right back, that actually takes 2 seconds because I just put an audio marker, then that gets added in later on. I think you probably like, feel like it's reversed for a few minutes, and then wait, we're back? What?
Oh, I know.
And I usually tell people that, and I think I forgot that.
That's all right. It's okay.
Okay. So we were just talking about you shared it with us that you're a mom, you have a son who's 9 years old, you had been in and out of some relationships when you were very young, you were a waitress, and now you are back at school.
I am. I decided to go back to school after a year-long in banking, and it was that ideal 9 to 5. It was perfect, but everyone was so unhappy, and I didn't want to continue in that field. So I went back.
In the dental
in banking.
In what making?
Banking.
Banking. Okay.
Bank teller.
A bank. Okay. Okay. I thought you said like inmate making. I'm like, no, I don't think that's what you said.
Oh no. Glad we clarified that. And so I went back to continue the dental hygiene track. And the more
if you're really good at dental hygiene, do you get a plaque? Sorry.
Very nice. And but yeah, again, it was the kind of how it would be practical. And but it wasn't, after a while taking the classes, I loved being in school, but then thinking about doing it day in and day out, and And I realized that in probably good 5, probably maybe even shorter, I would be back in school again for some other idea. Because I'm during this time, I'm looking at all these different fields. I guess I could go for this or that, and I just couldn't commit. I'm so indecisive. I've always been indecisive. And so January, I found a free piano on Craigslist. I had played piano growing up, and another thing where it came easily, and until I became a little bit more intermediate, and practicing just seemed pointless to me. And so,
It seemed pointless, you said?
yes. I mean, I couldn't understand.
Why would I practice this thing?
Yeah, I mean, because it came easily, and then as they got harder, I wouldn't put in the amount of time that was needed, or I would be doing 5 things at the same time while practicing. And so I squeezed in this piano. I'm teaching my friend. She had been dying to learn the piano, and it had come back for me. I still remember the notes and the play, and I had missed it. It was funny. I moved out when I was 16, and I had been forced to play piano at that point where it was just a grueling task, and I didn't care for it. But the second I moved out and I didn't have that piano there anymore, it was the first thing I missed. And so I was so happy to have it back. And so I'm teaching my friend, and she says, "Why don't you do this? You could teach people and charge for lessons." And I thought, well, I'm not confident enough in my advanced abilities to help a student from beginners through. I mean, I could teach you the basics in the beginning, but I wanted to be able to be with the student and mentor and help and tutor. And so I just kind of threw that idea away. And the more I thought about it, the more it just made sense. And so I looked online at the local university at their music program, and it turns out they have quite a arts program there. And
which school is this at?
This is VCU.
Okay, that's Virginia
Virginia Commonwealth University.
Okay.
And so yes, VCU in Richmond, and they about to be the #1 public college in the arts. And so it was just so ironic that this university is 20 minutes away. And so I go and talk with the director of the keyboarding department, the piano, and I tell her a little bit about myself, and she says, show me what you got. And I played a piece for her, and she gave me some other pieces to work on, and that auditions are in 6 weeks. Try to get this memorized and work on it. And so long story short, in that sense, I auditioned on the whim, and I made it, and I was so excited. And to think about an occupation that you can enjoy. I love teaching. I enjoy bringing it down to someone and helping someone get that light bulb to flash on. But I could never be a school teacher because of lesson plans. I can't plan, and I can't organize. And so I just sounded, there's so many negatives that would counteract the teaching part. But then teaching music, I thought, well, maybe I could make that work. And ideally, I would love to be a studio and privately teach. But
now,
I never.
At this point, Precious, when you're in school, were you diagnosed yet with ADHD?
Not yet.
Okay.
And so, but I didn't want to be a business owner because that sounds like something I can't do. So all these ideas, because I'm disorganized, I can't get anything accomplished. But I'm so excited. I'm back in school for a music school. It's the arts. I was supposed to go there when I was younger before I moved out. And it was like my path had come full circle. And what's even more important is I had that little boy, and he's the one who kept me grounded. And I know for a fact, if I went to university before I had him, it would have been a mess. I wouldn't have finished as it was.
Yeah.
And so,
It's amazing how kids change everything.
oh, yes, I mean, yeah, he keeps me going, and I had reason, and it was for myself, but for him too, And so here I was in school, first month. The first week felt like it was 6 weeks long. It was the longest week of my life, and I
What
go,
made it so long?
it was. I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't realize how intense the program is. It's a lot of information, and
It's a lot of like reading, or
it was just a lot of, concepts. I did have one class where I had to read a lot, and I thankfully I had all my general stuff,
mm-hmm.
the English and math stuff, out of the way, and
all those things that we'll never have to use in our life.
exactly. so, so I was able to focus on the music and the theory, the written part of music on the staff and why it makes the sound it does. That is so in depth, and there's so many levels and layers. And as you advance to the next part, it's like math, where in order to do algebra, you need to know how to add. Right. And the way I take tests and the way I did well in previous school classes is I memorize short term, I spit it back out for the test, and then it's gone. And so this was becoming.
Wait, are you saying like cramming doesn't work?
Right, I know, go figure. And it was awful. I mean, and I had been diagnosed with depression a few years back when I was leaving one of those fun relationships,
Okay.
and was treated for that. So I was seeing a doctor to manage the antidepressant that I was on,
mm-hmm.
and because it had popped this bubble that I had always been in, and I had always felt like I couldn't exactly get the words from my mind to my mouth out unless I was writing it down, or I wrote letters a lot if I was upset, or that kind of thing. But suddenly I was able to communicate better. So
and this was with the antidepressants.
It was, interestingly enough. Okay. And so I was talking with her, and I go, I'm not really depressed, but I think my medication needs to be increased. And she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" I go, "Well, because I have these classes, and I've been in school now for almost a year, but it's different. It's rigorous, and the rest of my life is just becoming a mess. I've always been kind of on laundry, but laundry has just gone through the roof. And
you run out of underwear, you go to the store and get some more."
Yes, and my car's always been kind of, but now it's I'm so embarrassed to let anyone look in. I drop my kid off and I go, "Hurry, close the door."
You know what? I think that is such a common thing, that shame of, oh my gosh, what will they think?
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of people. So this never happened before. I think my disc that I record this on just filled up. So this part's recording, the video part, but not the part that I use for the podcast.
Okay.
So hang on a second. So this will be the behind the scenes. I've had a lot of technology issues this week.
Murphy's Law.
I'm telling you. So my, I think it was the first or second call from my coaching group right before I'm about to log into the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
My computer had this pop-up thing that came up that said you are completely out of memory, and then I just started restarting and over and over again.
Oh.
So hang on. Just switched my because part of my system is I have 2 HD cards or SD cards. So I'm never so when one's in the computer, the other is in the recorder. So when I pull out the one from the computer, I just do a switch. So I don't want to have something like a moment of inspiration that I want to be able to hit record on quickly, which is nice for having the external recorder. So I don't have to wait for a program to load up, because by that point I'll forget what I wanted to say.
Right.
So let me just put that in and
trying to think what the last thing we were talking about. School. Music.
Yeah, so
Oh,
it's
talking to the doctor. Okay, let me write that down for when we're ready.
okay. If we want to, real quick, we can do. Okay, let's see. The last thing you said was. Do you hear my audio?
Nope.
Oh, you don't?
Uh-uh.
The last thing you said that you'd been in school now for over a year. That was the very last thing you said. You're talking about the medication.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Here, let me. I'm sorry about this. I'm going to share computer sound. Okay.
Oh.
So you can hear exactly what you were just saying. Let me know if you can hear it.
I was talking with her and I go, I'm not really depressed, but I think my medication needs to be increased. And she's like, oh, what's going on? I go, well, I mean, because I have these classes and I've been in school now for almost a year, but it's just, okay.
Okay, then it cut out.
Yep.
Okay. So let me stop share. Okay. All right. And ready?
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1, we're back.
So I'd been in school for over a year, but this was just a whole different level of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a procrastinator. I'd always justify that that's when I do my best work. So that's just how I learned to do everything, and it worked, and I would get good grades. So I changed the system, but it wasn't working anymore. There are these tests that we have to do, and one hand is doing one thing and the other hand's doing nothing. We're patting and talking at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to get all this down, and I mean and again, it's that layered system where you got to learn step 1 and remember it to get to step 2 and 3. And I would have weeks to prepare for this test, and no matter what I did, I would still find myself the night before just trying to cram it in, and it just was not working. And similar pattern to all the other years that I've been in school, where I do really, really well in the beginning. I have my planner, I'm all organized, my divider.
Yep, that's how we start off, all like gung-ho. And
all this intention, and then halfway through, it's just, I'm writing, and my dividers mean nothing anymore because I have something for every subject and all through my binder. And before, in high school and the first couple of years of college, where my A's would just kind of be like a lower A or maybe a high B, I was going from A to a very solid B, and then wondering if I'm even gonna continue because I was going completely insane. It was so much stress. And then in the meantime, I have to feed my kid and keep him alive. And I'm just,
it's important.
I don't know. And there just wasn't enough hours in the day. But then I had all this stuff to do, and I would just be doing nothing. I would take a nap.
Yeah.
I had to take a nap every single day, or I just couldn't function. Or I was was on Facebook for a ridiculous amount of time, and I know it's there, and I have that cloud, but I just couldn't get myself to do it, or I would
couldn't activate.
Yes, and so she talks to me and she says, have you ever been diagnosed?
She is.
Oh, I'm sorry, my doctor, psychiatrist.
Okay.
I was seeing, and I'm talking about the depression. She asks me if I'd ever been diagnosed with ADHD, and I laugh, and I say, well, in second grade they brought it up, but it's because I was bored, and they put me in the gifted program instead, and they said I was hyperactive, not ADHD. She goes, well, hyperactivity is ADHD. And I go, well, I wasn't ever treated for it. And I can focus. I graduated high school with an unweighted 3.98. I've done fine. I don't. Okay. So we went to the next appointment. And by that point, I said, so how would I go about ruling out ADHD? And I went to go see a specialist, ADHD clinic. But in the meantime, I had been reading about it, and go figure, there's different types, and it's more than just the bouncing third grader that won't sit down, and learning about the neurotransmitters and how the balance is. And then I come across this article that was describing primarily inattentive ADHD, and they wrote my life, and I was just floored.
Is it one of those moments that like there's the before you had that information part of your life, and then the after?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing things so differently. I go, oh my gosh. And so I saw the procrastination as something different. I go figure, procrastinating is a symptom. That just blew my mind. And I was able to get a little bit more initiative over things. I noticed a couple of days because I was seeing it differently, but it still wasn't at the peak. And so then I'm just curious about treatment and the medication. And I had always been such a cynic about this whole world with the medication and the ADHD and the conspiracy and
it's made up by the pharmaceutical
right. And it's all just a ploy. So, but I figured
Precious, if you wrote down the things you need to do on a list, you wouldn't have these problems.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Or and that was the other thing too. So I have my piano teacher, and I'm a piano student, and I was doing pretty good in the beginning of the semester. And then the way I practiced was I would go in, okay, gotta practice. I should make dinner. I start water boiling. And I remember I had to do something. I see mail I have to do. And then the water's boiling over. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm still practicing. And that was how I practiced. And it wasn't.
So you weren't actually sitting in front of the piano practicing.
No, that's not practicing. And they're telling me I have to practice 3 hours a day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I even do 40 minutes at the most. That's on a good day.
When I was very young, because I've played piano since I could probably reach the key.
Yes.
And so my parents made me take lessons, but I never really learned how to read the music. I faked it the whole time. So the teacher would play it one time, and I had an ear for it. So I would play the piano a lot, but so I'd put the sheet music up that I was supposed to be learning. But then I would go play Nintendo, and then I would get bored of playing Nintendo, so then I would figure out the theme songs to the games that I was playing. That was how I learned to play piano.
I love that. Yeah. So and my teacher is saying, "You're not practicing," and I go, "Oh no, I had it memorized. I swear." She goes, "No, I think you memorize it, you play it once, and then you think you have it. There's a whole different level of memorizing and really understanding and grasping the music." Okay, I'll try it. And again, the weeks go by, and I just couldn't get it. I'm working on these pieces for months at this point. And
now, is this you're working on these pieces for months, as in you're thinking about it while overboiling your water? And
yeah, Exactly. And,
So if we're
and
being
then,
really honest here, you were thinking about it for
I was
months.
thinking of working on it, and maybe 20 minutes of actually being on the piano. Then my friend, he was telling me, they say that visualization can be just as productive as being on the piano, practicing with the muscle memory.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I could do that. But then I got to look at it, and it's just not happening. So
that requires intense focus to
right. Yes,
that way.
And I'm not like that. This is just all natural. And I just couldn't get it. And then I'm thinking about this ADHD, and I'm going through this whole complex. I mean, this was just last October, October 2014, and I'm wondering, what does this mean? All these symptoms. Where does that stop, and where do I begin? And so I'm having this identity crisis on top of all this. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, let's see if the meds work. It may be, if this is the problem, then there's a solution. And I know there's the natural ways to work it out, and diet and all these other things, and exercise and habits. But
well, when you say natural ways, because I need to kind of
I mean, some of cutting out dyes and stuff. I mean, which they actually did when I was younger. It didn't affect anything. But
so I just want to make a comment. Because I don't talk so much about the details of the research, but I try to make sure that on the show that the evidence-based information is at least being talked about, and things that are either alternative or not proven are at least discussed as such. And so the dyes are not proven. It's not proven. I mean, because here's the thing. On an intuitive level, it makes sense if you can't pronounce the ingredient, that it's probably not good for us.
Right.
But does that cause the ADHD? Does it increase the symptoms of it or exacerbate it? There is very little research that shows it. So things like gluten sensitivities. And so, because the other half of my practice is autism. And so that's the gluten-free, casein-free kind of stuff is very prevalent in the autism community. And so what I say to that, and when I talk to clients that are asking about this, is that, the research does not support the idea that gluten is taking gluten out of the diet is going to help. Clinically, I've seen it work miracles in 2 families that I've worked with. So it's, just because the research doesn't show it doesn't mean it's not.
Yes.
But I think it's really important to really begin with, what do we know?
Right. Yeah.
So, okay.
No, definitely. And so I was excited. I guess, so if this is the problem, then there's a solution, there's treatment. And so during the testing, I had 3 1-hour tests, appointments that I went to go to, and I would joke that I guess missing one of them is part of the diagnosis process.
If made all 3 appointments, that's an immediate rule out for diagnosis.
Right. And so
it's early for all of them.
And I went in, and the counselor I met with was so sweet, and she shared that she has ADHD. And I discussed some of my disbelief on it, and talked about some other things, and she goes, "Oh yeah, that's ADHD." And I was just, wow. And I'm reading more, and all these articles, and the science behind it, where it's the in the brain, it's a neurological condition.
Yes.
And so I came to terms with it, where me being late is not my personality. Me not wanting to do an assignment, or not wanting to clean, or not be, I wasn't able to. And because I didn't know how to get that done. And then so we went through all the assessments and diagnosis, positive, inattentive, and primarily inattentive. Go back to the doctor, and we start on medication to treat the ADHD. I wait, because there's an insurance process. I'm waiting a week.
You have to jump through some hoops.
Yes. And so in that time, I had a recital for piano, and I wasn't ready. And I had But the week before, okay, I am going to put in the time and I'm going to do this the way you're supposed to do. And we're going to see this work. And I did. I wasn't boiling water. I would be there playing and practicing and over and over. And I just couldn't get it for the life of me. And I go in to before my
really
recital.
were putting in the time.
I was. And I had never done that before. So I could kind of say, you're right, to my teacher. I'm really not disciplined. and so, but then here I was going to do it. And it wasn't working. I go to my lesson and she says, you haven't been practicing still. And I want to cry now thinking of it. Yeah, exactly. I was just discouraged. I said, no, I am. And she even talked with me about changing instruments, the voice. And if I didn't know that this diagnosis and treatment was in play, I would have dropped out.
So this was all happening at the same time.
Oh, yes.
So fast forward a little bit.
Right. I start treatment. The prescription came in. I was excited, a little nervous. I take it.
Yeah, tell us about that first kind of day.
Yes, I waited an hour. I took the dog for a walk, and I come back, and I go to play the piano. And I played through it. I had 2 pieces memorized in 40 minutes. It was a light switch, and I just had never experienced that. The counselor had asked me, what do you think you're going to do when you do start treatment? What do you want to see change? I go, I can't even imagine. I can't fathom life not being the way it is right now. So I can't really answer that. And it was just this whole new world. And instead of trying to clean the whole house at the same time, I was able to take sections and actually do it. And it looked like I was doing something instead of doing 50,000 things and it still looked the same, or cleaning the drawer that nobody looks in.
Mm-hmm.
And
we all have one of those drawers, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it was a world changer. I had just so much. Words just doesn't even describe between night and day.
So you told me when we first talked about a time you went shortly after you started treatment and you were with your piano teacher and you took your medication a little bit too early. Yeah. You started your lesson, great, and then what happened? Right,
and then about halfway through, it was like a car running out of gas where I would just stutter, and I would start to do it, and then it just wasn't there anymore. It was gone. And I was trying to explain it to my teacher. She understands a little bit more now this year.
Because you said that she was kind of a skeptic.
Oh, she was very much a skeptic. She goes, we'll see if the medication helps. But, it's just, you don't know how, you're not disciplined. You don't know how to do it. And I go, I can see that argument in this point. But no, I took a test, and it says it's an objective test on the computer and everything. It's not subjective, whereas opinions. And it exists. People who don't have this were able to do this test well. Mm-hmm. And so
and it's, those computerized tests, which are objective measures, is not a test that says, yes, you do this.
Right.
One piece of that diagnostic process. So it's testing certain components of attention. We also have to think about our sensory channels, because most of them are using either visual and auditory sensory channels.
Right.
And some of us process differently. So was it the quotient or the con, or do you know what it was?
The number one.
Okay. All right.
Which one is
It's just boring test, yeah.
Yeah. and so I short circuit, and then because we were working hard on this one section, she goes, okay, from the beginning. And I just gone, blank page. And how are we doing on time?
Thank you for asking. I have a client in 15 minutes, so let's try to wrap the story up in 5, and then make a quick audio marker, and then
Okay. And so it was still really discouraging. I was in tears. I was so sad, and because she still didn't believe me. And so then I start getting the hang of it, because I was on what's called the instant release, and so there's a short lifespan time for it to be working. And so I get a system down, and I'm practicing. I got to where I couldn't stop practicing, and I'm suddenly this type A person I just want to get things done, and I have things to do, and I'm doing them, and I'm not just in la la land. And suddenly those theory classes about the music and everything are just coming together, and I understand it on a whole different level. It was where I just kind of knew of it before, but I was just completely grasping
It was
the
all
whole
connecting.
concept. Exactly. And so now this is about 5 weeks before the end of the semester.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm memorizing pieces. I have to play and be judged by the faculty. And then I'm studying and cramming for finals. I learned all this stuff that I should have been learning this whole semester. And I did it. I ended up getting a B in piano, and the rest were A's. And it was
Congratulations.
unbelievable. Thank you. And this year, my teacher, I already had, let's see, it's the 23rd. We're about 2.5 weeks into the semester. No, anyways, school started on the 12th. It's the 23rd. Okay. I already have a piece memorized. And my teacher just said, yeah, that's an amazing achievement for you. Yeah, it took me 3 months to get here last semester. And it's a whole different kind of world. And it's not only just in school and in music, it's my whole life. I'm able to cook in a kitchen and not completely freak out.
Or burn the house down.
Yes, I mean, it was such a mess. It was organized chaos was my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning, and I see now too that the medication is very much a tool. It is not the fix-all answer.
No, because it's, I'm sure you relate with this. The medication helps the brain focus, but it doesn't teach it a thing.
Right. And also all these other behaviors that I have seen now were coping mechanisms in the past. I need to change those. And so it's little steps and just learning more about it and being aware of my thoughts. The other day we were in a crowded museum and I was just suddenly upset and short. And then I realized it wasn't that what my friend did upset me. It was that there was 300 people around me and too much information going on around me. And I was trying to read the little blurbs and I couldn't understand it and all this noise. And so I was just overstimulated and overwhelmed. And being able to have that diagnosis and knowing what ADHD means mm-hmm. is I was able to unwind, take that step back and acknowledge what I'm feeling and why, mm-hmm. and then approach and deal with it that way. I need to take a breather. I'm going to go over here and sit. And now a big part of why I was excited to do this is that I've told some of my closest friends about my diagnosis.
So this is like your coming out party.
It is. I've not, I mean, because there's that stigma, I think I was really I'm self-conscious about it mm-hmm. and nervous. And, but I don't want to be because there's so much that is misunderstood by it, mm-hmm. about it. And also I don't want other people to feel bad about it because it's not something that we've done that we should feel guilty about. Right. And it just is. And you learn steps to kind of work with it, and you might take a step back, but then you take a few steps forward, and it's just this process. I mean,
and that's true no matter where you are in the process.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think exactly. that I'm probably case in point to that from the last week or so.
Oh, which was fantastic. I mean, and my friends at school, my classes, I told them about it because here I am, a straight A student, and I had to go in with accommodations with the school with mm-hmm. this disability now, and they would laugh, and it was in light. It wasn't necessarily to be cruel, but I think it's because they just don't understand.
Yeah.
And because here I am, you have what, and so it's this whole other thing. And I found myself, sending articles to all my friends, and I'm in the music program, I'm in the arts, and we're drawn to the arts and that outside thinking. I realized that there's maybe a handful of people that do not have what I have.
So that's why everyone thinks this is normal.
Well, I wondered when I went to the music program, I go, I'm with my people. Like I just get them, and we're
our tribes just so. No, it really is, and that's the whole thing about this community that we've been building around the podcast is just when you can relate with. It's not just one or two, and there's like over hundreds of people. Like that's why I love going to the ADHD conferences. Like, I am with my people.
Right.
Like, I can be like walking around like a complete mess, out of sorts, and it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
Exactly. I can lose my train of thought in the middle of a presentation, and
everyone's
cool. I'll actually, one of the things that I've done before, and it totally works because it's all I'm with my people. I'll be in if I'll go off on a little tangent, I'll forget where I was, and I'll just ask the audience. I'll say, "What was I talking about?" And they help me out, and we're all good. We get back on track.
And there's no fear of judging because they understand.
Yes. And
that's what I love about the group too, online on Facebook, because I don't have to edit. I will write books because I'm just strewing on all these thoughts. I do. But normally
I tend to skim books, just so you know. Okay, here's what I want to do, because
right, we understood.
We could totally keep talking, but then there's going to be nobody that's still listening. So we're going to do the abridged version of what time it's for. The random question round. This is the part of the show that has nothing to do with ADHD, which then paradoxically has everything to do with ADHD. And in a very ADHD type of fashion, I have not planned my questions, and I haven't planned my questions in the last 5 or 10 episodes since I've started doing this random question round. So I don't know what made me think about it while we were talking, but I just had an idea of my first question. Now, I usually ask the question, I'm going to now, an invention, something that will make something better, new. What's your invention?
I've been trying to think of one because I knew it was coming. I think that I would invent. I don't know.
Okay. Next question.
Get that way. We're short on time.
Next question. How long can you dunk an Oreo cookie in milk before it falls apart?
About 30 seconds.
I'd like you to go do that for 30 seconds. Dip an Oreo cookie. You're going to have mush. The correct answer, Precious, is about 14 seconds. But you got to be really careful because when you pull it out, you can't pull it out too quickly.
Then it falls.
That's right.
Yes.
I just made that last part up. I actually had no idea. Why is there no E sharp?
There can be. It's F.
Then why is there no F?
There can be. See, you mean that? Why isn't there that black key in between?
Yeah, and between B and C, that's semi. Now different instruments in different places do you use semitones, right?
Yes, and in Indian music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So on an Indian piano, if there's such a thing, I'm looking at my keyboard right now. Do they have a E sharp?
They get it through. Most of theirs was stringed instruments, and so they tune it and differently. It was actually really interesting. Yeah, they have all these other notes and quarter tones, and it sounds to us like
it's out of tune.
No, to us it sounds kind of like a warm,
wobble,
like vibrato, and it's actual notes for them. And then I had this whole semester on, what makes it music versus noise. That's a whole other chapter.
Well, I think that there's a lot of parents who think their kids' music is noise and their music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that will be a discussion for probably the end of the Because when I turn on the radio, most of the stuff that's on the radio is noise to me. It's like, that's not music. Like, that's
Right.
someone put a couple buttons into the computer, they played a loop, and it's
I
like,
understand.
where's the melody? Where's the tone?
Right.
So
Yes. It's
that's me and my
sad.
opinionated. Aren't musicians such so opinionated when it comes to
I
music?
understand.
So this is the best kind of music, and what you listen to,
Right.
eh.
I know.
So, I understand. I looked into the future, and I've seen that you came out with an opus, and
Oh.
you wrote your whole opus, and and it has a theme to it. What's the name of your opus?
It would be the I have words, but they're just not coming out. It would be the stream in the wooded secret place. What's another word for secret? Hidden? No. I need my thesaurus.
Um,
but yes, that would
another
be
word for secret, hidden, confidential.
It would be
This is where it'd be great if you had audience participation.
right. It would be the stream through the wayward woods.
Okay.
That would be.
And what was really special about this opus was the orchestration. Tell us who was in this piece that made it so special, and why it was featured on like every magazine.
Other than me.
Yeah. Well, clearly you were on the front, but behind you.
I would have. It would be dueling pianos. Ooh. Set with the orchestra, a full strings orchestra, and so it would have all these different themes and layered 4 parts. The orchestra pieces like this, but then you have to think of the piano, which can do so many other voices, and then the background's going to have like the screen thing, and so there's ambiance, and you're constantly in the dark, and strobe lights come down, and in time with the music, light show.
So my question was,
sorry.
Precious just went into ADD land there for a moment. So it's funny. I don't usually use ADD even when I use that expression, and I just said I don't know why. I was having a conversation, I think, with someone else today about that. And now I don't remember what I was going to say. So that's probably a good place to stop.
Right. The unanswered question.
Yes. So, this show really is about personal stories, about productivity, about strategies, and it's about having a little bit of fun. Yeah. So when you mentioned dueling pianos, I had the thought of, why didn't we actually arrange for that? Because I have a keyboard in my office. I mean, it's a 63 key keyboard. Yeah. Do you have a piano at your house?
Yes,
we should do dueling pianos.
That would be great. Yeah, featured episode.
Well, maybe we'll connect before this episode comes out, and we'll do something, because that would be a lot of fun. Yes. Maybe that will be for the bonus footage.
Right.
Got to go to the website for. Precious, any final words before we say goodbye?
No, I guess I just appreciate anyone who took the time to listen, and I think just the important part that I just really want to share is that if you do have an inkling and think that it might be helpful for you to look into ADHD and it might be affecting you, is to not, there are others. You're not alone. It's very isolating initially, especially when everyone that you do know in person doesn't believe in it. And it's very much real, and it's not imagination, and I can't just try harder. It's something that's affected me my whole life, and I'm so thankful now that I have the answer to that problem so that I know how to assess it and how to manage it. And so, I mean, it's just the beginning. I'm excited. Plans have changed now that I know that I can do what I thought before I wasn't able to do.
Well, Precious, thank you so much for coming on the show. I
Yeah,
really
thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
You've been a very valued member to our online community. So you can talk to Precious in the ADHD
Yeah,
reWired community. And as always, there are full show notes and of an outline of the show that Richard, who is my man, who does all my editing of this podcast.
fabulous.
And Richard, keep this in because I just want to give you a shout out. So the outline, not done by me, you'll listen to, and then he does all the notes. So we got to, focus on what we're good at and outsource the rest.
Right. Wise words.
All right. Well, we will be in touch.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Oh yes.
So much for a shorter episode.
Absolutely. I think I talked super fast. Oh wait. I should remember. Yeah, I felt myself. But yeah, I think we didn't go too wayward too much.
Yeah, I think we were pretty focused. There's
We didn't have that.
technical issues and a little bit of the
Right? We pulled it together.
late start because someone didn't do the homework.
I know.
So I thought I would get into the mic cam for the very last moments here. So, all right, I have a client that I think is actually waiting for me now. So I'll let you go.
All right.
All right.
Thanks again.
Bye, Precious.
Bye.